New filings in the Durham probe allege Hillary Clinton's campaign paid a tech company to infiltrate servers at Trump Tower and the White House to create a Russian collusion narrative. Here to talk about this is former Texas GOP Chairman James Dickey. Now, James, in light of all this, former President Trump says this is bigger than Watergate. Is it?
Well, it is actually. So Watergate was the president's campaign breaking into the DNC, the Democratic National Committee's office, to try to find out what they were doing. What we have here, according to what's alleged in the court filings, which this special prosecutor is going to be very careful in what he alleges in court filings. What he's alleging is that the Clinton campaign used tech people with government contracts to not only find out what searches, what DNS, what addresses were being put into browsers in Trump's office, but in Trump's office, in the executive office of the president. That's actual spying on a sitting president. That is much worse than breaking into the DNC's office, no matter how you weigh it.
Now, as far as how the public should look at this so far, because, again, you just talked about what these filings allege. For people that don't follow the 24-hour news cycle, and right now it's sort of everybody on the right is saying Hillary spied. Everybody on the left is saying Hillary did not spy. For people, just regular folks, what should they make of all this at this point? Because we're still pretty early on with allegations and actual proof and evidence.
What they need to take away from this is to be very careful about the conclusions they draw, because what we're finding here is yet another nail in the coffin of what was 3 years of relentless accusation of collusion with President Trump and his campaign with Russians. Now, all of those accusations have since been proven to be false and or not proven out at all. But what we're finding here is the Clinton campaign actually had people on their staff trying to make this a thing. And sadly, they were able to get press to go along with it. And they were able to get people, true believers inside government, inside the Justice Department, to prosecute this stuff when it turned out there was nothing there. And a lot of people paid for that with years of their lives and huge legal bills. So the message to everyone is, we need to be more concerned about the truth, and hopefully the press will lead the way on that front, though the past couple of years has not been a great signal on that front.
If some of these allegations turn out to be fact, what should happen to Hillary Clinton?
So there's a couple of steps between these tech people who abuse their actual contracts with the government and the lawyers that the Clinton campaign hired that got them to do that, and Hillary Clinton herself. And sadly, what we've seen is even when she admits to doing stuff like having her housekeeper involved in a top secret, her non-U.S. citizen housekeeper involved in a top secret room, even when she admits to that, she doesn't get actually accused or take into account for any of that in this warped justice arrangement we have now. I hope that does not become the truth. Does not stay the case, but there's 2 or 3 steps between now and then.
Okay, well, we have to wrap it up for now, but needless to say, with the Durham probe, there is going to be a lot more to come with this. So, James Dickey, thanks very much.